But at the end of the day, he's still a top 10 overall player and the number one point guard in the class. It's a big deal. Tell us how UNC got him.
It is a huge deal, and I would go so far as to say it's kind of the first um, recruit of the new era for UNC, and that's kind of in this NIL representation era where players have a ton of power and players are kind of using that to determine the best possible situation for them on and off the court. That's what guys did before, but the reasoning was slightly different. And I think with Cadeau, in addition to what Hubert Davis and Jeff Lebo and Brad Frederick and Sean May told him about the UNC program, which is, their guards have freedom. They want to get up and down the court. The need for kind of that true point guard, which is what we'll talk about, I think, a lot when it comes to Cadeau. But also, he saw what happened to the players on the team last year when they got to the biggest stage of, the national championship Final Four with North Carolina on that shirt. It was very lucrative for them in many areas. And so I think what you're seeing is the first time a recruit for North Carolina's purposes didn't just say, well, what can you do for me right now? He saw kind of a vision of, wow, this is North Carolina basketball. And there's a lot of stuff and a lot of fans and a lot of things that come with North Carolina basketball. What a great opportunity for me on the court as well as off the court. So I think that's why I say it's kind of the first one of this new era, because I think those are the things he considered. It wasn't just, I love North Carolina basketball and they need a point guard. It was those things. Plus, well, look at what North Carolina basketball can do for me off the court as far as NIL and those other factors. So, did not think we'd be talking about this 3 months ago. I must admit. So a huge win for Hubert Davis and his staff. This is the second with an asterisk top 10 commit that they've gotten in just over what I guess 20 months now, 19 months since he took over. So a big deal and at the most important position.
Absolutely. If you know anything about college ball now, it's that point guards make all the difference in the world. And if you go back and look at North Carolina's history, when they've excelled is when they've had somebody great handling the ball for them and kind of triggering the offense. Sean, I'm going to come back to Sherrell for this because he wrote the piece that's on Inside Carolina right now about the slanderous dubbing of a point guard now as a true point guard and kind of all the negative connotation that's come with that. But when I've watched this kid, I see a kid that's just got, as the kids say, some sick bounce. He's quick to change direction. Tell us why he's so much more than a point guard.
Well, yeah, I think he is much more than a point guard, but the great thing is that he is a pass first guard. I'd say his main strength is his passing ability, is his ability to read where people are going, how the defense is going to react, and I think that was a staple in some of UNC's earlier point guards under Roy Williams before they became more of the scorers first. More of the 2-1s that we've been seeing. But to your point, Joey, we'll put passing aside for the second, but yeah, he can fill it up in Peach Jam. He had numerous double-digit scoring performances. He played in Europe this summer in the U18 European B division. He had 33 points in the gold medal game. So he can fill it up pretty quickly, and he can do it in a variety of ways. From outside shooting to attacking the basket, to even I'd say right now he's probably most comfortable stop and popping from 15 to 17 feet as well. So he's got a pretty dynamic arsenal, and definitely excited to see how that continues to grow before his time at Chapel Hill.
Yeah, one of the things that you usually see with kids like this is they end up developing a jump shot, they end up developing their offensive game, but he's got a lot of tools in his toolbox right now. Sherrell, you want to elaborate a little bit more about kind of the trying to shoehorn players like this into the true point guard and why it's kind of a misnomer?
Well, well, let me start with there was a point in time where even saying point guard was kind of dirty. We changed our nomenclature
Lead
to say
guard.
lead guard, and I think for too long there's this notion that there should be a guy on the team who can't shoot, who doesn't contribute anything offensively other than passing, and that's the person who sets everything up. And I think we've gone to more to like primary facilitator, that kind of language, because the guy with the ball in his hand has to be able to score because he's got the ball in his hands the most. So I think a non-scoring point guard in this day and age, you really hurt your team. But that shouldn't be at the expense of being able to run the team, to facilitate, to pass, to do all those things that traditional point guards do. And that I think that's where the term lead guard came from, because you're kind of molding those two, what used to be two different positions, into one, which allows a lot of the dynamic shooting guards and guys who are primary scorers to do their thing, because you have someone at the one who can do a little bit of everything. Then that person at the two or at the three or wherever they are can focus on scoring. So that's part of it. And then with Cadeau in general, man, like Sean said, just his passing ability. Um, uh, I'm not going to say it hasn't been seen in Chapel Hill for a while, but the consistency in which he does it, the things that he can see before it happens. I was always told that's the sign of a great point guard, is someone who can kind of see the pass ahead of the pass. That's what Kendall Marshall was so good at UNC back in the day. And Cadeau definitely has that. You talk to Deshaun London, who's watched him for the last, I think, 5 or 6 years since he was like in seventh grade. Deshaun's a 24/7 national recruiting analyst. Eric Bossy, Adam, the whole crew, they all just rave about his passing ability. And I think talking to some people close to the UNC program, same thing. They acknowledge that he's not, I don't know if he'll ever be like a 25 points per game person, even though he can score 25 or 30 in a game. But they just rave about his ability to pass and set things